The Captain America 4 trailer has come out, but after this weekend, are they going to have to edit certain scenes from the movie that has already been reshot like 8 times? Let's talk about this $400 million budget here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, but a humble man. And here with me is the greatest entertainment commentator in the entire world, Mr. VashSky. Vash, are you ready to bless us with your thoughts?
Why do you do this to me, Jonas?
What? I like you. I like you a lot, Vash. I like to hear your thoughts on things. What do you...
I do appreciate it. Greatest entertainment commentator? I don't think so. But I do have thoughts on this particular topic that I think, well, the audience will find interesting. So
they may not be ready. They may not be ready for your comments here. Vash, okay, so this is obviously we'll be reacting to a trailer from Marvel Studios, which puts us in a high likelihood of attracting not the kind of attention you want if you're a content creator on YouTube. We might have to be descriptive verbally instead of showing some things on screen, but we're going to go through this real quick, and we're going to try to pause a little bit, but let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, they're in the White House, and it's darkly lit, which I don't believe that the White House is usually lit this darkly. So I'm going to say that this is already trying to be reminiscent of the idea of political intrigue, and therefore the greatest of the Captain America movies, in my opinion, that being Winter Soldier. What do you think about that, Vash?
I think so. I think they're trying to evoke that prior magic there, but that's the thing. I think the Russo brothers handled that with such nuance and in a captivating way that, I don't know, that it was dare I say, a populist message embedded in that, or it's kind of anti-establishment and so forth. I don't think necessarily the creators of this piece of work will be able to convey that in with the nuance that is probably required for this piece of work to be successful. And, well, maybe that's why they've had to reshoot this multiple times.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's a phrase that that YouTube always flags that used to be the title of this movie, and they eventually moved away from that. This is being directed not by the Russo brothers, but let's continue on with the trailer. So they're trying to make establish that this is, in fact, the same character of Thunderbolt Ross, who originated for the MCU in Incredible Hulk, a movie which I maintained for a very long time was not actually a part of the MCU until the Russo brothers brought him into the Captain America films. So what I think this is supposed to be reading at, they're pulling from that imagery of the Jack Ryan films and, of course, Air Force One, the times that Harrison Ford has played in, let's say, appropriately aged president, considering the eras that he has played the president. Is that a fair way to put it, Vash?
Well, it's fair. I think it's a fair point. I think they are trying to evoke that, which is, I don't know how successful you'll necessarily be. Well, I mean, I don't know. Considering the current political climate right now, maybe they will be successful in conveying him as one of the running
right and
president.
Very current presidential things are about to happen on screen, to the point where I wonder if Disney's going to have to make some more changes.
Uh-oh.
All right, so I'm just going to point out with the same thing with The Dark Knight versus Batman Begins, whether or not it is the same character, you're essentially restarting that character in the audience's mind when you recast that person, unless they really look like the previous actor. You might have been able to get away with that when Spider-Man, they almost replaced Tobey Maguire with, what was the other guy? Jake Gyllenhaal, that looked so much like Tobey Maguire and would have been in the role at the time. I don't think that works as well as anyone would like it to work. They're probably acknowledging that, but Vash.
No, I think you're absolutely right. They're acknowledging the reboot here. I haven't seen references to the show, which is a direct continuation of. So that's very interesting. And here's the thing.
There you go. The show that everyone might as well have missed, apparently.
Well, I think that they're going to make that pretty clear, actually, with the final edit on this thing. But even though, like Thunderbolt Ross, I don't think they made it abundantly clear that it was a continuation of that character either. So the success on this front might be wanting.
Yep. Let's continue on. All right. So I'm going to question their placement of that line. And if we disagree on a situation, that probably should be moved later in the trailer, because I think we all know it's not going to go well based on the rumors that are around. And Thunderbolt Ross is not a trustworthy character. So I'm just going to say, from an artistic standpoint, I can see a pretty good case for moving that closer to the back end of the trailer. But I guess they wanted to get to those explosions a little bit sooner, you know?
Right.
Oh, and I think there was a brief glimpse of a character named Sabra, who was a Mossad agent in the comics, and I believe she's been made into an Israeli-born United States intelligence operative of some kind for this, which is a change that I question why exactly they made that change, but whatever. We're not going to linger on it too long, unless you have something to say, Vash.
I think you made an astute point there, though, that should have moved that back. That's your editor mind, Jonas, working instinctively in this. And maybe they could have used that.
Maybe. Now, I will say this. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is one of the better trailers, with a few exceptions we'll talk about in just a moment. This, first of all, this is Isaiah Bradley, a man who was an African-American Captain America experiment. He's from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. One of the better characters, by the way, in the series. They got a little heavy-handed with it, but at the same time, he's from the comics. He's somebody that highlights the mistreatment of African Americans in the United States. Also played by Marcus Lumley, who was fantastic on Alias. I think he was also the voice of Martian Manhunter in the DC animated universe. A lot of respect for this actor. Obviously, they cast him a little younger than however old Isaiah Bradley is supposed to be at this point in the timeline. But that's not the issue that we really want to talk about here. They now have a commercial for a movie that features the President of the United States, and obviously the incidents of a few days ago happened. Do you think, Vash, that they will be changing this based off of current events in the same way that the movie Collateral Damage by Arnold Schwarzenegger got changed in the wake of September of 2001?
I would think that would be the best practice to employ here. I mean, we are making now overt references to political events that are pretty fresh in the mind of the American public and even the world to a great extent. So yeah, if I was Disney right now, I would absolutely be pulling these ads. There's no question in my mind. And we have seen this in the history of cinema multiple times. I believe there was an Inkster movie that actually featured a scene in which a theater's audience suffered from an event. I'll put it that way.
Uh-huh.
And
after the screening of Dark Knight Rises, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get the whole story there, but they made significant changes to that movie, obviously to the detriment of that movie, because I think a lot of the premise was surrounding that particular event. But that's just something you have to do because, well, these things happen.
Because in the end, it's commercial art. Also, this is a movie that comes out in February. Again, has been reshot so many times. The rumor is $375 million. I believe that because of how many times they've reshot this film. Probably 3 altogether. And the way that Disney shoots these things, they're supposed to live on forever and make money for them forever. So they don't do small movies anymore, apparently. I don't know what's wrong with this company. But we'll continue on. And this is where everybody talks like superhero. They're in a movie trailer. That just happens in these. But right here, obviously, a shot of probably not Anthony Mackie pulling this stunt right here. But these are the moments that actually take me out of this pretty solid trailer. Other than that, these flips and something that we'll reference at the end. So this is obviously very evocative of some shots that we've seen of the original Captain America. I don't know if they just didn't have the funding to get Chris Evans on this movie here, but for some reason they've recast Captain America as this young Anthony Mackie here. I like Anthony Mackie. I'm not trying to harsh him for having them cut the check, as it were. I think this is supposed to remind us of the previous Captain America films. Vash, what do you think about shots like this?
Obviously, there's some member berries there. There is some stuff in which they're trying to reference these other works that you may have seen within this franchise and saying, "Ooh, it's kind of like this thing." It's like, not really. I think this is what maybe conveying like the elevator scene that is very iconic from that film and certainly very memeable, as anybody on social media would tell you. But I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to be successful. In terms of the shot that we saw before of a political figure maybe suffering from an unaliving attempt, I'll put it that way, that probably needs to be reshot and removed from all these trailers.
Perhaps.
I think that's
from the trailers, yes.
Yeah, from the trailers for sure. In terms of that event, maybe you don't do it with a firearm, put it that way.
That's actually a really good point. The other thing is to return to the point of shots that are trying to be reminiscent of previous things. Winter Soldier also had a shot of an assassin jumping out of a window that was pretty similar to the shot of Isaiah Bradley's character jumping out. That, of course, was the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan's character in that one. And there he is, Giancarlo Esposito. Probably a good addition to this film. In the end here, I'm not sure. I like that they're leaning into it because that raises the stakes a little bit here because he's supposed to be very strong. Although these are superhero films when it comes down to it. Obviously, Iron Man, not a superhero, but when he's in that suit, he's a superhero. This is the problem for a Captain America 4 that does not feature a superhero. You have a person fighting a monster that turns into a different kind of film for me.
Indeed, it takes it out of that kind of realistic aesthetic that I think was really maintained pretty effectively during the entire run of the Captain America arc so far.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we're about to reach the moment of the trailer that I'm going to admit takes me right out of it. All right, there it is, Vash. Are you excited about Shrek 5?
That's not bad right there. Yeah. Red Hulk has been the big rumor and speculation surrounding this film is that Red Hulk was going to be featured. So obviously they've made that reveal officially there. And, well, I mean, I guess, if it's an open secret, you might as well include it. But yes, I do agree with you, Jonas. It does kind of take you out of it when it goes superhero-y in the way that this has. Again, there are certain characters that can definitely do this. But when you're trying to have a sequel to the political thriller, The Winter Soldier, that just it just doesn't work as maybe effectively as maybe they intended.
Right. So let's talk about that for just a moment. When you talk about Captain America: The First Avenger, it is a historical piece more in the lines of like a Rocketeer, where there's a slight amount of pulp to it, and it kind of reminds you of like an Indiana Jones. In fact, Joe Johnston, famously of Lucasfilm, directed that film, and that one was improved by Captain America: Winter Soldier, which is a political thriller. And you have Captain America, who we all acknowledge is stronger than a normal human being, and also the Winter Soldier, who is stronger than a normal human being, and the Black Widow, who is obviously more capable and interesting in other ways. This is two people fighting, and generally the fights with them are still grounded in reality in a big way. And then there can be these big flourishing moves here, because in the end, Captain America is obviously not bulletproof. Winter Soldier, not completely bulletproof, I'm assuming here. But there's no giant green monsters in that one. There's no guy with a huge hammer that can pull lightning bolts from the sky. There might be some Stark tech in there. Obviously, Falcon is in there. And there was a little bit of weirdness there when Falcon was first introduced there. I think it took them a little bit to fully get that in there. But even when they're doing the helicarrier scenes, they're very reminiscent of things that people have already seen. I'm gonna pull back to Jurassic Park here for a moment. So like the movement on the velociraptors. They could have come up with movement systems for the velociraptors that we had never seen before. They could have made them look like aliens, but instead, all of the movements of the dinosaurs are very much based on like turkeys and birds of prey and things like that. So when they show a bright red, and I'm not talking he's kind of red like his skin is a little bit red because he's flustered. When they show a high saturation, bright red Hulk in this, that takes me so far away from what they've been establishing for the rest of this trailer, which is this is a grounded, high-stakes political thriller. Because in the end, and I don't know where that final is, it looks like a lot of cherry blossoms, so maybe it's set in Japan. In the end, it sounds like it's going to be a punching match between two superheroes, banging two action figures together. That's what it says. Like the start of this trailer is a promise of one thing, and the end of the trailer is saying, no, we're just kidding around. This is superheroes banging together here.
I believe that cherry blossom sequence may have also been in DC. I believe it's during the Cherry Blossom Festival that they have every single year.
That makes sense. My brain just goes Japan when I see cherry blossoms. So.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously they're including that iconography in order to give it a different aesthetic than what we've seen from DC previously, and also do a little bit of an international shout out as well. So I think it's what they're going for right there. Could be a good fight. Don't know. This is a very interesting show, but I don't know, Jonas. I mean, this is so cost prohibitively expensive. The CGI, by the way, in that didn't look all that great, which I'm unbelievably surprised by given the enormous budget of this movie. And is there a reason why Winter Soldier is not in this film officially? Did something happen in the show that I missed?
I don't know. I don't know if
Kick them out of this?
Sebastian Stan just has other things to do, but there it goes. By the way, this is a still frame. It is probably, I'm hoping this is low res versus what's in the film.
Same.
Yeah, still frames generally look better than motion here. I don't know if Red Hulk was actually in this film when they started shooting it, because I all we can say is definitely in at this point, and who knows over the length that they've been shooting this film, whether or not he wasn't in it at the start, and at some point they thought, yeah, well, if we think that'll sell tickets, if we think that's what people are interested in, let's just go ahead and put him in the film. Harrison Ford famously said, "What's a Red Hulk?" As you know, he wouldn't have to be involved in those shots himself, because he's probably not doing mocap for this the way that Mark Ruffalo does for the Green Hulk, who has also been destroyed by the current MCU. This does not give me confidence for the film. This is coming out in February. Obviously, they now have this marketing issue where they have the attempt that was made as part of the trailer. I don't know. I don't know if audiences are mature enough to handle that and say, we understand you're just making a film here. Famously, studios are not great about that. There was some early promotional images, obviously, for Spider-Man that had the Twin Towers in them, and that was removed before that film was released. Has a good, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us, that great line that was in there for that reason. Now, I'm not expecting for them to do a great reshoot here and find something that unifies all of us together before the end of all of this. Vash, save me from myself here. Do you have any thoughts before we wrap this up? Do you think they're going to change the marketing for this film from here on out?
Who knows about the current Walt Disney Company and what they do? I think we've had some coverage on the company's, response to political controversies in the past and how their rhetoric has been tailored and so forth, certain directions and certain allegations, all kinds of stuff, right? So the Walt Disney Company is kind of hard to pinpoint when it comes to these kind of decisions. I would say a responsible media company would alter some of this, at least the trailers, if nothing else, to maybe omit certain sequences that evoke the contemporary tragedies, really, of the time. Because
I'll also add that, if they're already spending another 30 million here, another 40 million there, it doesn't cost 40 million to do another trailer, right?
I would hope not.
With that being said, we would love to hear your thoughts on this trailer in the comment section down below. There are so many things to talk about, whether or not it's the fact that it's got a bright red dude in it, or whether or not they're going to have to change the marketing here, or what your general thoughts on the trailer are. We'd love to have those in the comment section down below. We have a pretty great audience here. I love reading all of the comments. I really do. That being said, like this video if you found it helpful or informative or anything else like that. People say I shouldn't say like this video if you like this video, but I like the irony of saying it awkwardly. With that being said, please consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.